This message of the high this
This
episode of
is
the
the
Highlight
message.
Zone has been brought to you by white wine. Need a 0 calorie? That's not true. There's definitely calories in this.
Yes.
Refreshment? Drink a glass of wine a day.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of Twilight Zone reviews. A journey into a wondrous land of intoxication where a father, son, and guest drink and retell episodes of the Twilight Zone.
There is a fifth dimension.
Stay tuned because your next stop is the Highlight Zone After Hours.
The Twilight Zone.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Highlight Zone After Hours with your two original hosts. I am Steve.
I am Kelly.
And we are glad that you're back with us in 2025. We're starting the year off with a weird episode, and I'm going to tell you why. I have a glass of wine. Dad is drinking wine today. Let's see it. And we're both talking about the benefits of Members Mark and Walmart brand wine. So what we're doing today on this special edition of the Highlight Zone is we're not going to be talking about Twilight Zone, but we're going to be talking about a show that I have said since day one is very similar to the Twilight Zone. And the reason we're doing it now is season 2 of one of my favorites. It might be my favorite original programming on streaming is Severance, and it's available on Apple Plus. No Paramount Plus plugs this time. This is all about Apple Plus. The second season starts dramatically on January 17th. So by the time you guys are watching this, season 2, episode 1 will have just premiered. And last week I told my dad, I was like, you got to watch this. We need to do a show on this because I've always said that Severance very much feels like the Twilight Zone to me for a lot of different reasons. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break down what we liked about season 1 and what we're looking forward to in season 2. I have a lot of cool videos and pictures here because one of the things that Apple Plus does very well is marketing. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but I'm going to show you some of the cool stuff going on right now. But more importantly, Dad, did you enjoy Severance season 1?
I enjoyed it immensely because, as we'll get into this in a bit, you know me, when you tip me into one of these things, I end up binging it for like 8 hours.
Apple Plus doesn't give you every episode at once. So I personally enjoy that. I know 90% of people want to binge it and then forget about the show until the second season comes out. I like to draw out the suspense a little bit. So it comes out on Thursday nights. So actually, I think it might be Fridays to be honest. But every Friday for the next 8 weeks, we will get a new episode of Severance Season 2 created by the guy that I met and hung out with, Mr. Dan Erickson, and executive produced in a lot of the episodes, directed by Mr. Ben Stiller, who
Yeah.
I don't want to say shocking, but most people know him for his goofball comedies and all that stuff. He's a hell of a good storyteller and a really great director. In my opinion, in season 1, the best episodes of the show were directed by him. And I just thought that he does a really good job at this weirdo story. The
Why
premise
don't you
of
give us the review because I have some questions I'm going to pose to you
See,
that
and
I'm
I love
hoping you'll
this.
have answers for me.
So the premise of Severance is the idea that in modern day, so it's just like today, actually they do a kind of a good job of making it kind of not clear if it's a few years past or today, but either way it's modern day. And for whatever reason, and the reasons vary, and that's a critical part of the story is people that have a hard time coping with whatever decide to sever. And that means that they get an implant in their brain. And the implant is a little chip, and when you go into work, a different part of you stays in work. So it's called an innie for the person that's inside work and an outie for the person that is outside work. So for example, if I was severed and I walked into that door right over there, the second I walked in, I outie Steve Krellin that you guys know would be on pause and innie Steve would start and it would be a different world, a different person in theory because it's a different mental mindset. Then the second that any Steve who's at work goes through that door, Outie Steve is back. And the most compelling thing about that is your innie never feels the outside world. The outie never feels the inside world. So in theory, your innie is perpetually trapped at work. There's a lot of scenes, especially in the pilot episode, where you try to leave and you just are thrown right back into work. Even though hours and hours have gone by, it feels instantaneous. And one of the most compelling parts of the story to me is the reasons why people decide to sever. Mostly in Mark's case, which is played by Adam Scott, the main protagonist of the show is he's dealing with a lot of grief and he over the loss of his wife
Yeah,
and
there's tragedy in their lives usually.
tragedy, exactly, and they can't cope. And they like the idea of 8 hours away, so they're not dwelling away. Mark, for example, was a professor at a school, and he could not teach because he was too busy thinking about his loss. So that's why he severed. A lot of other people sever for different reasons. Helly R, played by Britt Lower, is a totally different reason. And the reason that she severs is borderline sinister, but it's great because her character is easily the most compelling one in the story because of the two different versions are wildly different people. But that's pretty much the premise of this. The first season is, let me make sure I get this right. It has a very high rating, by the way. It's an 8.7 rating as a season. That is incredibly high. And I believe that each season has 9 episodes. So the first season we just rewatched. Season 1, let's see here, 9 episodes. Season 2 will have 10 episodes. And the first one premieres, like I said, January 17th of 2025. That was a lot to get over. So unpacking that idea, I've always felt like the Twilight Zone, because not just of the technology or the idea of that, but what's one of the things that we've talked about? Don't sell your soul. You have to deal. People can't, you can't trade emotion for anything else. That's one of Rod Serling's things. Am I kind of right on that? You know what I mean? You have
Yeah.
to, yeah, he hates the idea of getting away from yourself. You have to own who you are and just lean into that. You can't fake it and you can't sell it. The devil can't replace parts of it. And that's always been something that I felt like this felt like an episode of Twilight Zone. What did you any of it ring true to you besides the story and also the score? The music at some point sounds very much like a Twilight Zone to me.
I liked that the story and the script was clean. By clean, I mean it was easy to follow. The set was clean, all of the white walls. The characters were limited, so you weren't being bombarded with different side stories, which I liked. And yet they gradually expanded each one of them, so you saw a little bit about their alter life. Uh, so I liked the way the storyline was written, the way it progressed, the way the characters were developed. And it was clean. I use the word clean, but it wasn't cluttered with a bunch of other stuff
Yeah.
because their environment was confining. You didn't know what they were doing, and you still don't even really know what they're
The
doing.
work is mysterious and important.
Yeah, yes. And they keep saying that.
The work is mysterious and important.
That's good. That sounds just like me.
I've watched this series now. This is the 5th time that I've watched it. And something I grasped this time that I didn't before was the relationship with Mark and what's his best friend's name? The sadness that when his friend sees him and he goes, "You are different on the inside. You like this kind of jokes and you like this and
Yeah.
you would have hated that." And that was one of the things that really got me this time was just the difference of people. You're a different human being and you don't even know that you're like that because you're an innie and an outie.
Yeah.
So
And
I
yet
find that fascinating.
you find out, not in the first episode, but as it progresses, that they each made a conscious decision to have that done to them.
Yep.
So they knew enough about it that they wanted out. They wanted out of something. They wanted out of their inner turmoil, whatever their personal life was creating problems. They wanted out of that for a while.
Exactly.
So this place isn't as sinister on the surface because when you're not at work, people know that you work for Lumon. And they say, "Yeah, I knew other people that work there." Whether you like the company or don't like it, that's always part of the conversation as the episode draws on. It's very upfront. You don't know what they're doing, but you know that it's a company and you know that there's a lot of people that work there. And I guess their question is, you're always gone every night, for example. What do you do? I have no clue. When you're an outie, how do you talk to your friends? Because they know you work there, but you can't remember a single thing about it.
Right. You have no idea. So another kind of reflection, and I'm going to use that term purposefully here, that I believe is similar to the Twilight Zone is in the Twilight Zone, just this New Year's Day when we watched 75 hours of it nonstop, it felt like One of the things that we realized was that Rod Serling really has his characters a lot of time talk to their inner selves, whether it's a reflection in a mirror or a broken piece of glass or whatever, the inner monologue. And that is something that is crucial because it's kind of your subconscious talking to you and your consciousness.
Right.
In this, that's gone because there is none. And I think that that is creepy and terrifying. The idea that your inner person never gets to see daylight. And that's what Heliar
Right.
says is like, I can't do this no sunlight bullshit. I got to get out of here. And I think that's fascinating. So I want to go through some of the cast here because the cast is amazing. Adam Scott, like I said, plays Mark Scott. Zach Cherry plays Dylan. Britt Lower plays Helly. Sarah's favorite character is Milchak, played by Tramell Tillman. I
Now,
had
is
some
he the
story.
guy, just because I can't remember the names, is he the one that holds the critical switches
Well,
in
no,
the
no. The
last?
one that holds the critical switches is Dylan, and
Dylan, okay.
Milchek is the scary guy that's in charge of
Oh,
Waffle Party
the
and
buff
Melon Party.
dude
We got
that
to
I
go ahead.
still don't know. I don't think he ever got the chip. I think he's
He
like
does not.
another character.
Well,
So
here's
there are people that are not part of this experiment, which I found as this thing got to the last couple of episodes. That is truly bizarre because
this
they
is
can go home and go to work knowing full on what's going on.
So Milchek is a fascinating character because he's so domineering, he's scary. But for what reason? After watching it 5 times, I was wondering like, why don't they just stand up for themselves? Why don't they say, "What are you going to do if I don't do this?" Because they're operated almost like a scary military regime. Like they just
Well, I
follow
think
it.
that's what they're told. Don't you think that
It-
he is presented to them, every new person that comes in? This is the security guy. This is the
Yep.
guy that controls everything. They feared him, and they feared him because it did feel like a military environment
Ex-
where they had no choice but
exactly.
to
And
do
that's
what he said.
And that's scary and frustrating because, once again, if your Audi, in theory, in my personality, if my Audi knew that my innie was being treated like that, I would be like, no, this is not what I signed up for. Cut your shit. But they don't allow them to take messages out. They don't allow them to do anything. I think the most compelling section of this first season, there are two that I find wildly interesting and perfectly written, was the Helly R. This is big spoiler here. You don't know this until the end. Helly R is the reason the show starts. She's the one that starts the entire show. She's on the table. She doesn't know who she is. You see the process from beginning to end. When you realize who she is the CEO's daughter.
I
And
didn't
she
know if
is
you were going to spoil it to that degree. I was about to say that, but I was holding back.
the fact that you find out that she is doing it for publicity is wild. It's just so manipulative and dark, but it's it's kind of great because you don't know
Hey,
if you would think that she might not know. But what I was getting at is Heliar got in her innie was so frustrated by it that she tried to kill herself, and it was the most dramatic, one of my favorite episodes because the ending, you are just grabbing
oh
like,
yeah.
what? Is she gonna make it or what? Like, what the hell happened?
And at
It's a
that point, you
riveting
have no
episode.
idea what her role really is, who she is as an Audi. You just see her as a new person in this four-person room,
Yes.
and she just can't deal with it.
Um, so I'm just going to cut kind of to the chase. The second thing that I thought was riveting about this, besides every second of the show, was that they find a way to quote unquote wake you up. They start to get the idea, they start to figure it out because something happens to where one of them, and it is Dylan, gets woken up at home. And that sense, because he stole a piece of material from a room, didn't know it was anything sinister, and he hid it. It was important enough that they woke him up at home, and it started a chain reaction, which is storytelling genius. He saw his son. He saw his son,
Yeah.
and when he went back to work the next day, he was not the same innie. He knew he had
He
a kid.
remembered it. He
He
remembered it.
remembered it and he
Yep.
was pissed. He couldn't do anything right because he was so angry that he had a kid on the outside. And the fact that they tried to use that as leverage against him later, Milchek is trying to break in the room and he's like, "You have two other ones. Do you want to know their name?" And he's holding the switches, keeping everyone on the outside doing their thing. It's just gripping
That
storytelling.
whole episode, I'm thinking, how far along in this storyline with the three people are we going to go before his arms drop because he can't hold the
I
switches any longer?
Oh yeah, I totally agreed. It's fascinating. the last entire episode, the reason why I think that last episode is a perfect 10 is it's all them on the outside. And you find out that this is a huge spoiler of the whole thing and why I cannot wait for season 2 to air tomorrow. You find out that the reason Mark went in is because of the tragic death of his wife. And you find out later that his wife is actually Miss Casey. She's not dead. She's been in Lumon the entire time, and it ends with, she's alive! And that's how the show ends, because he now knows that his wife isn't dead. And
he'd been meeting with her on several occasions because of morale problems that management was having with him.
So
yes,
I think it's
so.
bizarre.
Do you think she had a chip, or is she chipless?
She's got a chip. Oh, see, I don't know. I have no idea.
See, you can't say she does.
You're right. You can't. I have no idea.
I think most of those people that are in those positions, because when she was let go, she was really upset, just like the other lady, the head lady that was not chipped, the one that was sort of the evil one all along.
Patricia Arquette, she's Miss Cobell. Yes.
So imagine if this woman, the wife who he thought was dead, doesn't have the chip, and he thinks she's dead, and she knows he thinks she's dead, and yet he's being pulled by her in these sessions. And it's just it's a mind game.
The concept of not knowing is why I think this is very Twilight Zone heavy, is because of the unknown. Your person split you for a reason. They shouldn't have. You definitely realize that now, that it's not a good thing. But whatever reason they did it for is palpable and real to the outside world. But the innie has no idea, and it's perpetual torture.
No.
There are now two versions.
We know that this is not a small company. This is a huge corporation.
Massive.
The very first scene shows that drone aerial view coming into this massive corporate complex with parking lots full of cars. I'm talking full of cars.
Yep.
So there are thousands of cars, meaning there are thousands of people. Where our team of 4 were located in this complex is subterranean. They went down. They're
very important.
They're in an enclosed environment. So when I think about all of our episodes of the Twilight Zone, Rod makes it a point. Most of the scenes, regardless of the episode, are enclosed in some place. It's not like out on the street. They can control that environment, so you're focusing on the actor or actress and the storyline. The rest of it is white walls. Just like in this show, you're in a subterranean room where the halls are all white. The room is all white except for the green carpet. You're focusing on the dialogue and the story because there's nothing else around you. Serling does the exact same thing.
Thank you. Yes. It's the way that the story is told is claustrophobic. You realize that that's what it is, and he does that very well. Not the thing about machines. I can't remember the one with the girl with the massages, the droids that are massaging. It's got a very same feeling. These people don't know that they're droids because they don't ever leave the house. It's very similar to Severance. So we're not going to go in any more of this. I could not recommend this show any higher. It is my #1 all-time recommendation. I'm a big fan. I give it a 10. Are you looking forward to it? It starts tomorrow. What's your rating?
You'll give me the word because I am too dumb to know when season 2 starts. So as soon as Stephen Krellen says, "Dad, it's on," then I'll probably wait until 9 episodes or 10? How many did you say there?
Start it? Okay,
and then
so you're
binge.
That's gonna be tough.
No, not for me, because
it's gonna be tough for me because I'm gonna want to talk about it.
Well, that's why you're not going to do that. For me, it's out of sight, out of mind. I'm so dumb, I'll forget about it until 2 months from now, and you'll say, "Dad, now you can watch it," and I'll go, "Oh, great, that's awesome."
Okay, I'll remind you when there are multiple episodes.
Please remind me when I can spend 3 or 4 hours, and I'll be on it immediately.
I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to do that with The Last of Us, because when that show is on, you'll be living here and you'll be watching them live with me. So get ready for that. Yes,
and we did that regularly. So that's an exception to the rule.
It is. So I couldn't recommend it more. I give it a 10. Dad, what's your rating on season 1?
I'll give it a 10 as well. I was fascinated by it. I found so many interesting things about it. And that last episode brought so much background and backstory into it.
I love
even the head guy, her dad. I swear he is a cult leader. This guy. I looked at it through those lenses, but that last episode was phenomenal as they were able to think outside while their one little toad buddy is holding these two switches that really is controlling all of their brain waves.
Yep.
Because you realize if he lets go of one switch, that connection breaks.
Back in. Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I was voting for him the whole episode. Man, hang in there.
I
Do
know.
not
I
let
know.
your
He's
arms slip.
sweating. So we both adore the show. The acting is top notch. I want to do a quick little thing. First of all, is 2 years ago, so the summer of 2023, it was the summer that Nope came out. Severance was one of the main features at San Diego Comic-Con. They had, I'm going to put pictures in right here, so you're going to see them on the show. They wrapped an entire building, and they had scouts out and around. Sarah and I were walking around wearing our Lumon shirts, and we got scouted by an Apple person, and I can't remember her name. And she came and talked to Sarah and said, "Oh my God, you guys are wearing this. I work for Apple. We have an experience outside." And she goes, "Do you want it? Can you come tomorrow morning?" And Sarah's like, hell yeah, we can come. So Sarah, Lila, and I got invited with about 4 other people that were walking around Comic-Con dressed in cosplay for Severance. And here's the coolest thing, and you're going to see pictures, and there's going to be a video too. We got to meet all of them except for Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, and Zach Cherry and Britt. But we got to meet Seth Milchek, which his name is Tramell Tillman. We got to meet Miss Casey, Dichen Lachman. We got to meet the creator of the show. It was one of the coolest things. They built an entire Lumon in downtown Gaslamp. I'm showing the pictures right now, and we got to go and have our own melon party. Sarah got sent to the break room. No. Wait, did Sarah go to the break room? Sarah went to the break room. I got to go and have a wellness meeting, and so did Lila. They randomly chose people to go and do these. Paid actors filming this. The sad part is we had to wear masks. But I wanted to show a couple of things. If you can see behind me, I have my Lumon tote bag over here filled with stuff. But check out this picture. That is the entire cast. That's the creator. Where is he? Erickson. There's Miss Casey. There on the other corner is me, Lila, and Sarah with our masks. These are the people who are in character. But Apple puts on an amazing presentation, right?
Did they give you a waffle party?
They didn't. No, we got a melon party, but that was the big joke the whole time is they were like, we can't do waffle parties, but we're going to give you a melon party. So here's the cool thing. This Tuesday, so this was the 14th of January, in promotion of the show in Grand Central Station, I'm going to insert the video right here. They built a glass square, and all of the main actors in Grand Central Station went in this glass square that they recreated to look like Lumon, acting like they were working at Lumon all day. And people got to walk around like a freaking fishbowl and take videos and pictures all day. Here's the coolest thing about this. I think it's amazing. They're so good at marketing, and they know their audience with this show. It's thought compelling. It's all this other stuff. This was supposed to be in LA, but because of the fires, they said, can you maybe recreate this? And the guy that's in charge said, I got an idea. I'll have it done in 24 hours. Built this in Grand Central Station. So for 12 hours, people got to walk around and see the actual actors, all of them. Patricia Arquette was there. Patricia freaking Arquette was there. Ben Stiller was there on the outside taking pictures and videos, as you can see in this video. He was there walking around, and all day they didn't interact with the fans on the outside. They were acting like they were at a day in Lumon. How cool is that?
That's very cool.
It's
That's
incredible what they're doing. So anyway, Severance Season 2 starts today, because you guys will be seeing this at least on the 17th or later. It's on Apple Plus.
So in 2 months, I'll be all over
You'll
it.
be all over it. I could not recommend another show higher than this. This is my number one. So far, we've referred people to it, and we have yet to have anyone say that it was anything other than the best thing that they've seen. So I highly recommend everyone go to Apple Plus and check this out. Dad, do you want to break the news on everyone's minds?
Heck no. You break the news, man. You're the one that's done all the heavy lifting on this. You deserve the chance to let the world in on our little secret.
The real heavy lifting is going to be in the next few months, because, drum roll please, we have a big announcement here at the Highlight Zone After Hours. If you are in or in the vicinity of the Phoenix area, set your calendars for June 7th. That is a Saturday. We will be hosting A Highlight Zone after hours live at Phoenix Fan Fusion. That's right. That is our Arizona Comic-Con. It's the biggest one. I got to do one of these a few years ago. This is going to be incredible. We're going to have 3 guest hosts. Andy has already said he's guest number 1. So Andy will be on that stage. And what we're going to be doing is in front of all of the fans. It's going to be kind of like an interactive game show. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a mixture of trivia and what we do here on this show. We're going to be doing a trivia. Then we're going to have one of our special panel guests come up and retell an episode in 5 minutes or less. Then we're going to go to the audience to do some more trivia. Then our next guest is going to do their retelling in 5 minutes or less. All the meantime, my dad and I are going to be tag teaming this, interacting with fans in the audience. And Anthony Helmer, artist that we've been there, has been on our show before. Go back and watch his episode. He's fantastic. Is commissioning a special piece of artwork for the first 50 people at the convention. So if you're in the area, go to phoenixfanfusion.com. The Saturday, June 7th is when we will be doing this thing live. Dad, are you freaking ready? I mean,
I'm retiring so that I can come and do this.
I mean, you are. That's not a
What
big
says
statement.
commitment more than that?
Absolutely. So we will be in your face, Twilight Zone nonsense, June 7th in Phoenix. Go to phoenixfanfusion.com. Get your tickets now. They have a great deal if you are interested in going, but we will be hosting a panel. Sarah's going to be there. She's going to be helping run trivia and everything like that. Andy's going to be sitting on the panel. The fact that Andy's going to be sitting there, I have other special guests that I have to get secure stuff. I'm trying to get a cool cosplayer to show up and a friend of ours that owns a restaurant, but we're working on it. But
we will have
be
sliced
there.
cheese for you, Andy. We will make sure there's cheese.
The prime mover. But anyway, it's a big deal. It's going to take a lot of work, but it is going to be a stupid amount of fun. And if you are in the area, please mark off June 7th, 2025, Phoenix Fan Fusion.
It'll be there. We'll be there.
So anyway, we're going to get done. We're done with this whole wrap up. Please go watch Severance. You'll see the Twilight Zone relation if you haven't already, but you'll see it when you watch it. It's palpable. The music is very Twilight Zone as well. We are recording the pilot episode of season 3 very soon in person, and Andy is our guest host for the pilot episode.
Good.
So we're going to be in person in a few weeks recording, and go back and check it out. By the way, Dad, I don't know if you noticed this. Our season 2 wrap-up episode is our highest viewed episode yet. Cheers to that. I finished mine.
Here's to that.
Right on. So anyway, we look forward to having a really fun 2025 with everybody. Go to Fan Fusion. If you can't, we will record it and post it here. Obviously, that's what we're going to do. Watch Severance. Watch The Twilight Zone. And where the hell would people watch that, Dad?
You'd watch it on Paramount Plus. Even if you're in upstate New York, like those 2 new fans that I brought into the fold last week, they're now watching it. So we're going coast to coast and beyond.
See, I'm telling you.
Paramount Plus, baby.
I love it.
You get it everywhere.
All right. Everyone, thanks for watching. Keep watching. The next episode you're going to see is a brand new in-person Andy-filled nonsense pilot episode of season 3. We look forward to it. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in another dimension.
See you then.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where is this place and when? The answer is, it doesn't make any difference.
Can you say eggs?
Steve is.